It started on a rain-slicked evening in the heart of Nairobi. The kind of night when the sky feels like it's grieving, thunder rumbling like a warning. Traffic was crawling. People were tense. But none more so than Emmanuel Kalonzo, the 34-year-old CEO of Skylux Technologies. Known for his ruthlessness in business and his detachment in life, Emmanuel rarely drove himself. But that night, something compelled him to take the wheel alone. He was speeding along the southern bypass when it happened. His brakes failed. The car skidded violently and slammed into the guardrail. The force flung the vehicle partially over the edge, teetering above a 30-foot drop. Dazed, bleeding, and trapped, Emmanuel's vision blurred as the weight of the vehicle creaked ominously. Then, out of nowhere she appeared. A young woman, soaked to the bone, sprinted from the shadows. She crawled onto the crumpled hood of the car with nothing but a crowbar and raw determination. With trembling hands she smashed the windshield and pulled him out just seconds before the car plunged into the ravine below. They fell back onto the wet gravel, panting, his blood staining her white blouse. She refused to give her name. They found shelter in a nearby abandoned warehouse while waiting for help. Emmanuel, woozy from blood loss, remembered the way she wiped his face gently, the way her eyes held a quiet sorrow, like she'd seen too much too young. They talked about regrets, about loneliness, about what it meant to be forgotten. For a few fragile hours, it was as if time held its breath for them. By morning she was gone. No ID. No contact. No security footage. Emmanuel searched, hired private investigators, even offered a reward. Nothing. The mystery woman had vanished without a trace. 5 years passed. Skylux tripled in size. Emmanuel became a household name in East Africa. But something in him had shifted. He no longer chased power with the same hunger. He often found himself staring into crowds, haunted by a memory he could never reclaim. Then, during a corporate outreach event at a rural hospital in Kisumu, he saw her again. She was walking out of a pediatric ward wearing a nurse's uniform. Same eyes, same quiet sadness, but older, somehow wearier. Emmanuel's heart stopped. She froze when their eyes met, the tray in her hand trembling. But when he approached, she didn't smile. Instead, she whispered something that made his blood run cold. "You shouldn't have found me. Not now, not after what I've done." The reunion that should have been beautiful became something else, something laced with dread. Emmanuel couldn't tell if the pounding in his chest was excitement or fear. And as the sky outside darkened again with another heavy storm, he realized, this wasn't just a woman with a secret. This was a woman running from something far darker than him. Emmanuel followed her through the hospital corridors, his mind a whirlwind of questions. She kept her gaze down, avoiding his eyes, leading him to a quiet storage room near the back wing. The rain had begun again, soft at first, then louder, as if the heavens themselves strained to hear what was about to be said. Her name was Wanjiku, and her voice trembled as she finally broke the silence. "That night, when I disappeared, it wasn't just fear that made me run. It was guilt." She told him everything. She had been a final-year nursing student then, surviving on part-time shifts and borrowed time. That rainy night, she hadn't just been walking by, she had been following someone. A man. Her ex-boyfriend. A doctor with a dark addiction and a violent temper. They'd been arguing for weeks. He'd threatened her, accused her of ruining his life. That night, he had cornered her on the roadside, and in the chaos of trying to escape him, she saw the car crash. Emmanuel's car. Saving Emmanuel wasn't planned. It was instinct. But when she disappeared the next morning, it wasn't only because she was scared. It was because, while Emmanuel had survived, her ex had not. His body had been found 2 days later, face down in a storm drain. Wanjiku's hands trembled as she confessed. She didn't know if she had pushed him, or if he had slipped. Either way she fled. Changed her name. Abandoned her dreams of becoming a trauma doctor and settled in Kisumu under a new identity, hiding from the past. But she couldn't hide from herself. "And now you're here," she said, tears welling in her eyes. "After 5 years, you bring all of it back." Emmanuel was silent for a long time. His face unreadable. Then quietly he said, "You saved me. And I think I was meant to find you again." But the past wasn't finished with Wanjiku. 2 days later, her hospital was broken into. Her office ransacked. No valuables taken, only her file, her photo, and a strange message scratched into her locker. "Justice is patient, but never forgetful." Emmanuel moved her into a secure estate. Hired personal security. But the unease lingered. Wanjiku began receiving anonymous calls, the sound of breathing on the other end, always at 3:17 a.m. Then came the final blow. An envelope left on Emmanuel's car. Inside, a photograph of Wanjiku from 5 years ago, dragging a bloodied body through the mud. It was blurry, grainy, but enough to raise doubt. Emmanuel stared at the photo long after Wanjiku had gone to sleep, the storm pounding outside again like a curse repeating itself. He didn't know what scared him more, the thought that someone was framing her, or the possibility that she had told him only half the truth. The night she saved his life had made him feel invincible. But now he wondered if she had saved him, only to slowly destroy him from the inside.